The long history of America's desert Southwest tells of richly varied and interwoven humanity: Native Americans, Spanish missionaries, and pioneer settlers. Their convergence in this arid yet beautiful place has created an environment that's at once historic and timeless. I'm Bill Boggs, following the paths where the people of these ancient pueblos, towns, and missions met and mixed over the centuries, all places worth exploring for every historic traveler. Our journey across the tapestry of southwestern history begins with one of New Mexico's earliest civilizations. We'll visit the remains of an Anasazi Indian pueblo at the Aztec Ruins National Monument. From there, we head south to the center of Spanish colonization in the area at Santa Fe. And we'll end with the graceful melding of the two cultures at the picturesque San Javier del Bac Mission in Tucson, Arizona. Carefully worked stone rises out of the New Mexican mesa. Finely cut blocks form the halls and rooms that comprise a large planned community. We know who built this place, but how and why and where they came from are lost in time. Visitors to the Aztec Ruins National Monument today can experience the haunting beauty of these tumbled walls and learn all that modern archaeology has been able to deduce about the natives who built them. But in the end, you'll find that the mystery of the place endures. The ruins are conveniently located right across the Anasazi River from the quaint historic town of Aztec, New Mexico. Although Aztec is a small town, it's taken great pains to preserve as much of its past as possible. The Aztec Museum and Pioneer Village includes Indian artifacts, an original frontier cabin, and the town's first jail. At the Step Back Inn, each room is named for one of the town's founding families, making it a charming and historic hotel for your visit to Aztec. Although it's called the Aztec Ruins, Park Ranger Grady Griffith says the name only underscores how little those first Anglo settlers knew about the previous inhabitants.
Well, when the early settlers moved into the Anasazi River Valley, they thought that this structure was built by the Aztecs of Mexico. However, it was built by the Anasazi, the ancestral people of the Pueblo today. It did take a great deal of organization, manpower, and obviously food to feed the people, but the Aztec Empire of Mexico rose and fell centuries before the Anasazi built this structure.
Anasazi was a name used by the Navajo living here when the white man arrived and means ancient ones. The Anasazi themselves left no written record of their lives. The Aztec Ruin Complex includes at least two major structures and several smaller sites. Only the West Ruin has been thoroughly excavated and is open to the public. Modern dating of the timbers shows the West Ruin was built all at once starting in the year 1111. But where the builders came from is uncertain. They may have come north from the Chaco Canyon, or they may have been local Indians influenced by the Chaco people. This artist's sketch shows how the village may have looked in its heyday. Almost 450 rooms rise to 3 stories in some places. They surround a large central plaza dominated by a large sunken ceremonial room called a Kiva. This plaza may look plain enough, but it's actually yielded a solution to one of Aztec's puzzles. In 1916, an archaeologist named Earl Morris began digging here. And under this plaza, he discovered 2 distinct layers of very different kinds of pottery. His conclusion, that there had been 2 separate periods of ancient occupation. First, the builders, who worked in the style of the Chaco Canyon Indians to the south. Then a different pottery style showed that after a 70-year vacancy, the village was taken over by a new group of Anasazi with ties to the Mesa Verde people from the north.
Well, archaeologists think today that no more than 200 or 300 people actually lived within the structure at any one time. Many of the rooms were used for storage. just as we use our garages or storage sheds today. A virtual gold mine for archaeologists. And these are some of the things that came from that site.
But for the Anasazi, perhaps the most important rooms in the complex were the ceremonial Kivas. There are more than a dozen Kivas near Aztec, used for a yearly round of rituals and observances. In the 1930s, archaeologist Earl Morris began a complete reconstruction of the Great Kiva at the center of the West Ruin.
Well, Morris reconstructed it in 1934. He built the upper rooms, the 15 upper smaller rooms. He said in the excavation that he found nothing to indicate the use of those rooms. We don't know what they're used for even today. The 4 massive pillars supported a roof that weighed probably 95 tons. The 4 limestone discs came from at least 40 miles away, weighing about 400 pounds each, with no wheeled vehicles or horses. It was quite a chore. It showed that it was, this structure was very important to the community. What that importance was, we're not sure.
Another ceremonial mystery the Anasazi left behind are the network of roads crisscrossing the entire region. Perhaps they were used for trade or pilgrimage. Perhaps the roads were symbolic or religious rather than practical. We may never know. Around the year 1300, the Anasazi may have put these roadways to one final use. For no apparent reason, they suddenly abandoned not only the Aztec region, but this entire section of New Mexico as well. Scientists have been unable to offer any conclusive explanation for their departure or their destination. Without the written word, only the remnants of stone paths and buildings can speak for the Anasazi today.